Welcome to this esteemed organization, known to some as the Podcast of Champions. We were at the Champions Classic last night in our humble abode of Chicago, Illinois, just out west at the U Center. Saw both of your smiling mugs, sat up in the clouds with many other esteemed members of the college basketball media space. Limited seating down there on press row with the GOATs. Seth Davis and Jay Billis. Unfortunately, as many might be surprised to hear, they have precedent over us for those seats. But
actually,
a great experience.
Seth Davis is right in front of us, Matthew.
Wait, was he really?
He was.
Seth didn't even get bottom
up in the clouds with us. Yes.
Messenger doesn't have the clout yet.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, Goodman too, part of that. Anyway, awesome games. We'll recap those tonight. A lot has transpired in the first week or two of what are we at? Week 2.5 of college hoops. And quickly turning the corner to MTE week, which is always just filled with what the heck happened there results. So we'll get to a little preview to that later. But we've saw that. Classic thoughts. Anything else? Three-man thoughts as well. So kind of a standard boilerplate show structure. Get used to it. This will be kind of what we're going through for the rest of the season. Before we go any farther, though, how are you guys?
Oh, I'm wonderful, Matthew.
Good.
I'm so happy to be on the air with you. Talking hoops. Don't want to belabor the intro here, Kai. We've got a million reviews again that are moved to the end. Per usual, want to get into the content quicker, but hey, pumped to talk hoops. There's a lot that happened over this past week. We finally had some big games on Friday and last night, etc.
We did. Yeah, it was kind of obligatory. How are you doing, Kai? I don't really care how you're doing.
I'm doing great. Go ahead.
Good.
Yes.
First off, thank you, Joe Pitti, for the best intro and outro music in the podcast game. That's Joe Paskoff. Jim, is he a Sparty alumni? I feel like is he a member?
No, he's a Badger. He's a Badger.
Okay, good.
Took it on the chin last night, which we'll
might talk about Buzzcut badge soon. Yeah, not great. But yeah, he's awesome. Thanks for that work, Joe. And please subscribe. This is probably the most important part of the intro. Please subscribe to our podcast on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, but most importantly, this YouTube channel. I'll pause and say it again one more time. Please subscribe right now if you're watching to the YouTube channel. I'm telling you, one of those people who sort of tunes out people when they say that, but then I've come to, this side of the aisle, kind of, you realize how important that is for us. So just right now, if you're watching live, press subscribe. And if you're listening, I'm sorry, but please watch in the future and hit subscribe on our behalf. Thank you. That's all we have, right? For YouTube updates, Kai, technicalities of sorts.
Yeah, I think so. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. So that's our first initial goal. So we're excited about that. So yeah,
huge milestones.
We are tickling it right now. We are almost there.
We have reviews galore. And we're going to do that at the end. We're going to hit those now, Kai. What's your approach?
We're doing it at the end. We are moving to the end.
Thank
Lots
you.
of reviews, so stick around if that's your thing. There's some questions in there so we can talk about ball some more. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do know ball. Troy Donovan actually said we know ball better than all other ball knowers. So,
I like that.
That is an endorsement ringing beyond belief. So, yeah, thank you, Troy. Shouts to you. We love what you do, how you transformed the college hoop Twitter sphere landscape. Quick personal corner, our best bet show. We've kind of hinted this before. We're continuing planning on doing the once a week Spinny Saturdays until further notice. So we're going to kind of leave you on pins and needles in suspense until we have more certainty. But still a great time to buy the Almanac, the all caps Almanac, Kai. That's volume 2. The best Almanac and best volume 2 of any kind out there. So make sure you do buy it. CBBAlmanac.com. Super helpful for those of you doing whatever in terms of following the game or betting, what have you. And yeah, we'll get to the Champ Classic we went to last night. That was a great time had by all. On the website, I believe Jim, didn't you write an article yesterday?
Discussed it last week.
We did.
I did not write there was one this week. Nope.
Okay, sorry. I feel like I've lost my mind today. Late night last night. What can we start the Classic at like 6 p.m. and not have like the 5-hour games and delays between? It's a late night out there.
It did start at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I thought it started at 6:30. I arrived at.
That is Matt, the Duke fan, showed up 30 minutes late to the massive Duke game to start.
Shouts to Greg and Carter. Sleepers Media also rolled in about 20 minutes late. We were crushing the food buffet, feeling like dolts in the media room. Not exactly sure when the whole thing started. But anyway, that's all we have for intro. Let's round it up.
Let's do it, Matthew. Let's talk news and notes. But before we do, got to give a quick shout out to CBB Analytics. Kai, I saw some graphs from CBB Analytics, some charts starting to permeate the Twitter sphere. It's kind of taken over, so you better get in now, folks. This resource is terrific.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have started to see this on Twitter. The post game shot chart graphs from CBB Analytics. They are ubiquitous, or at least they're becoming so. Very good and insightful analysis. You can see how teams' shot charts have changed from year over year. I know the Michigan tweet was an eye opener for me. Michigan getting a lot better shots this season early. Is it Phil Martelli? Is it less obvious NBA stars? I don't know. What could it be? Maybe Dickinson? Who knows? But the point is, CBBAnalytics.com gives you the best 30,000-foot view of college basketball. Many Division I colleges are signed up to use the product. It is useful for sports bettors. It's useful for just college basketball fans. It gives you a bunch of different data slices you can easily plot onto charts and graphs and pretty much figure out anything you want to in terms of how teams are shooting, how teams are performing, all that good stuff. And you can get a $40 off your subscription by using our promo code WEAVE at checkout. That's cbbanalytics.com. I believe they also offer a free trial, so obviously take advantage of that and see if you like it. But check it out. We recommend it. Back to you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Kai. I'm realizing I have a sun glare coming in on me.
Tough.
Gonna be in the eyes. We're gonna battle through that though. That's what we do here. All right, news and notes. Roots Roundup. Not a ton crazy happening in terms of big headliners, but in the coaching world, Jared Grasso officially resigned as the head coach of Bryant. I believe this was yesterday on Tuesday that it officially happened, and today, Wednesday, Phil Martelli Jr. has already been named full-time head coach. The interim label was immediately removed. The administration clearly happy with what Martelli Jr. is doing. Matt, maybe they've just seen what Phil Martelli Sr. has done, and they're like, he's going to give that.
They watch the St. John's games like, we need that guy. We need those bloodlines in our program.
Yep, exactly. But stability, good for Bryant. Been a little bit of a rocky preseason for them. And Martelli Jr., like Matt said, pretty good bloodline. So we will see how that plays out. But man, it seems like a solid move given just kind of the waves of turmoil that had been going around Bryant. And the recruiting world, Kai.
Hoping it's not the last we see of Jared Grasso. Sorry, I'm a Grasso guy. Is that okay? Can I say that? Sorry, I just want to interject.
You can. I hope Jared Grasso is better when he comes back. That's
he will be.
Kai, recruiting world. We got Mizzou heartbreak here. 5-star Jaden Quaintance, top 10 recruit, was down to our Tigers and Big Blue Nation, the Kentucky Wildcats. Before even seeing the Champions Classic, Mr. Quaintance picked Kentucky, headed there. Big recruit for Mr. Calipari. 4-star point guard Travis Perry also joining him, fellow top 100 recruit. So a big recruiting week for John Calipari and Big Blue Nation.
Big cock tease to the Tigers. Quaintance was rumored to have
he's so good
preferred Mizzou for a long time, and apparently some people got in the ear of his camp,
stop having camps.
As is the case
people have
with
camps.
A lot of prospects. Hey, go to Kentucky instead. Yeah, just become a number, Jaden. Just become another guy. You could have been special at Mizzou, but now you're just another cog in the machine. That's your choice.
They can't keep their big men healthy, Jaden. They can't keep them healthy. We're a little late on this pitch, but yeah. Unfortunately. That one is past. Matt, sorry, no Duke news here for you. I know it must hurt to not nab a 5-star recruit during a week, but
no, it does. It does. So
the other one to mention is power forward Connie Ruths to Michigan, and a 4 or 5-star fringe guy, like big time recruit for them. Michigan, you will get discussed further later on in this podcast because you have been fantastic so far. So we won't dwell too long on that, but a big recruiting win to go with their on-court success. In the transfer waiver world, Jalen Tyson of Cal got his appeal approved. He was initially denied. And then also Daniel Bacho at Louisiana Tech got approved.
Big.
Matt, you know what these two have in common? They were arguably abused or whatever, verbally assaulted by Mr. Mark Adams last year. I think that has a lot to do with why these waivers were approved. I think there was maybe some lawsuits threatened behind the scenes where, well, the guy can't transfer after having to deal with a coach like that is let go by the school for improper behavior. So yeah, both these pieces are massive for their teams. Tyson's off to a great start in 2 games. How has this shifted your view of Cal and or Louisiana Tech?
Cal and Louisiana Tech both have their most valuable players now playing, Jim. So I would say meaningful to both squads. We love both coaches as well. So I'm hoping they ascend up their conference totem poles this season.
Wow, shots fired at AMAC, another Texas Tech transfer. But I think Goodman said it best when he said, so Mark Adams gets to coach right now at East Carolina, and these guys can't play. Makes absolutely zero sense. So glad they got their waivers.
Yep. Nothing really else to get into in the news and notes. Shout out to James Madison, who did make it into the top 25. Kai, we make fun of the AP poll typically fairly mercilessly. I will acknowledge how much it can mean to a program to see that number. First time in history for James Madison. Like, that's such a cool rallying cry for the school to see. Whether, do you believe they're one of the 25 best teams in the country? I don't. No. But it's deserved that they've got that ranking, that honorific, and can kind of put that on all their marketing material. So good for James Madison. That's it, Matt. Kick it back to you for our little Champions Classic recap. Talk through those 4 teams, obviously four prominent programs. So let's get into that.
Yeah, should we talk about the teams that come to this? Like, I think there's one little outlier that I'm joking, Michigan State fans. I'm not going to bash on you, but at some point, 12-3 against Duke in the last 14 or 15. I can't do math.
I think it's 14-3 in the last 17.
14-3, 17, whatever. It's a lot to a little. And yeah, there's plenty of jokey jokes in the media room about Michigan State's inclusion. And I kind of made the green in the blue sea of fans doesn't really mesh. Like, could we just maybe swap in UNC? I can't believe I'm saying nice things about UNC on this podcast, but
there's
anyway,
certainly a more recent champion than Michigan State.
Yeah. Anyway, let's leave that there. So, in order of games, first one was disgusting, and the second one was just fireworks galore. So I'm glad that at least we got in the encore a much better, aesthetically pleasing game from a viewer perspective. But yeah, Duke, Michigan State to start. The Michigan State trials and tribulations, I guess, continue. I'll just kind of kick it over to Jim. You want to kind of hit the main points here? I mean, the headline was, the offensive lulls and herky-jerkiness that we've seen doom them against James Madison when they went 1 of 20 from 3. Well, it turns out when you go into the United Center, those shooting woes were not quelled. They still were Brick City, and Duke, I think, took advantage of that and kind of got the sort of the monkey off their back after the Arizona game that a lot of people were questioning their physicality, their toughness. So a good get-right spot for Duke. I don't think I come away thinking any differently about Duke, right? But anyway, we'll get to that. Jim, Michigan State thoughts to start. Go.
Yeah. We'll get to Duke. I mean, Michigan State. Tom Izzo wasn't very discouraged. He sounded like very upbeat and optimistic about his team, and obviously it's a very good test for them. But yeah, I mean, the shooting is concerning. The fact that their freshmen, like besides Carr doing energy stuff, are not contributing at all is a problem. Fields has been awful. Booker's been buried. Kai, their fan base is so fed up with Sissoko that they're now clamoring for Carson Cooper in the starting lineup, which he has a tiny head. I just can't ever unsee that. He looks like the guy from Men in Black after his head gets shot and it starts to grow back, but it's like tiny. Yes. That's my vibe with Carson Cooper. It's just, it doesn't really seem to be coming together, but it's super early, so I can't really rag on them that hard. But the offense has kind of looked bad for 3 straight games. Southern Indiana is awful, and they did nothing against them. I think we're 1 for 11 from 3 there. My one encouraging sign for them, Kai, is that Malik Hall looked confident again. He was probably their second best player out there behind Walker against Duke. Certainly wasn't AJ Hoggard, who is struggling mightily after taking notes from the haters.
Yeah, and we said Hoggard was overrated coming into the year. And yet, we still rated this team top 5, and we still, thought they would probably be the best backcourt in the country. And shame on us for giving into, I think, stuff that we normally go against. Whereas Michigan State was a 7 seed last year and top 30 team, and to make the leap to this state, I guess we thought the incoming class combined with the guys coming back would equal a huge trajectory upwards with Izzo in charge, but he's burying Booker, like you said. That's kind of his MO, burying his star big men. And Jaden Akins has gotten off to a horrible start. He has not gotten much flack here, at least from what I have heard, but the guy shot 42% from 3 last year. He's 1 for 10. I think it'll turn around, Matt. I think there's a lot of shooting variance, but they don't look confident. They look stagnant. Definitely a little bit concerning to start off the season.
Very concerning. Yeah, I think we talked about how important Joey Hauser was to this team. They miss him so badly. Like, there's just, Shire tried to nicely give Michigan State the respect in the post-game presser, like saying they had capable shooters, but he was quick to cite how important Hauser was. Like, off the top of his head, he had the stats ready. I don't know, Kyle, are we going to abandon the Michigan State top 5 thing, or are we just like it's a point in time issue and they're going to be fine? Like, it is weird how it's almost annoying. Like, Izzo's recurring pattern of this is, like Jim said, did they practice in October? Like, did they just not care until January, February, March? I guess it's kind of the whole point of the year.
I think he experiments, or is my assumption. I don't know.
He's tinkering.
Again, Hogard's not that good. So that's kind of a key thing. I think they're actually going to teeter on underrated pretty soon here. They're not top 5 for me anymore, but they're not 35.
Yeah, which I can't believe they've fallen there. Matt, let's talk about Tyrese Proctor. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it. Can I defend him? Actually, I don't want to defend him.
Tell me how you feel about him right now.
The Tyrese Proctor slander, and I think we deserve some. We crowned him first team All-American. We were like, second team. Sorry, I think we were
first.
We were. I was even kind of going back to don't be surprised if this becomes a new alpha and Flip becomes the sort of 1B to Proctor's 1A, and
every Duke fans are trying to make fetch happen with Proctor for years.
I know we are. Gretchen, stop. Here's the thing with Proctor. He's a double-edged sword in his demeanor, and by that I mean he played in Australia professionally for a year. He came in kind of seasoned for a youngster. He played with a lot of pros, and I think he was used to playing with other good players. And I think is accepted. He's just one of the cogs where I think this team needs him to be more assertive. Now I think like his the way he carries himself is like almost too unselfish, and that could probably be a good thing long term if optimized correctly. But this team needs him to be kind of a guy, in my opinion. The other thing too that gets lost in the shuffle, Kai, is he is Duke's best perimeter defender, and I think he carries a very heavy burden game to game. Shire mentioned that too, like how much he's trying to keep him from getting worn down. And, Duke has a lot of guard depth, but I think Proctor guarding the best perimeter player on the other team, and then also having to be the alpha scorer playmaker, like that's not many guards in the country do both, right? Like play two ways, and it's very few. You can go back multiple years to find those guys. So, and Shire continued to beat the drum of like, we have 4 awesome guards. Proctor's one of those 4 awesome guards. They're going to have some ups and downs, some shuffling throughout the year. We've seen Roach go through those 1 month blazing phase, and then he was kind of disappearing. So if Shire can kind of push the right guard levers at the right time throughout the season, I'm still in on Duke as like a title contender team, and the talent's just insane. But I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic here that's kind of emerged after we showered Proctor with like unwavering praise to start the year.
Yeah, that big leap. I mean, he's not bad. He played fine. He's just not assertive. He's not the playmaking guard. That's just not what he's doing right now. He's a role player per KenPom right now in terms of his usage. Caleb Foster was awesome. I think that's a a great thing to see for Duke fans. Flip is Flip. He's fantastic. Yeah, Duke's good. I don't think Duke's the best team in the country, but I think Duke is good.
Yeah, I don't think they can be the best team in the country if Proctor's just like a solid game manager type. Like if he's not going to have a usage over 20 and show off some of those dribble moves and pull-ups that we saw in the Tennessee game last year that really tantalized me and got me going, then the ceiling isn't maybe quite as high. And again, Tyrese Proctor is a very good basketball player, but he's not even close to All-American right now. And that was kind of what people saw in him as potential and was part of the Duke ascending to the very, very top, myself included, and just hasn't quite been there. So it is going to be seemingly more of a balanced cast in the backcourt, Matthew, with Foster and McCain and Roach all rotating, having big nights. And it's not really going to be Proctor's a 15-6 guy who's just like every night you know what you're getting from him kind of thing.
Yeah, just to put a bow on this, I think there's too much being talked about the Duke backcourt. Like they're going to be fine. Like even if Proctor becomes one of the guys, I think there's that's good enough to be national title good. The problem is up front. Like, yeah, our boys on Field 68 were giving Ryan Young a little too much love last night. Like he's thinking he was like a defensive disruptor.
He's
like
a Big Ten player.
A Big Ten player, sure, that's where he should be, right? We saw him be good in Big Ten for Northwestern, but this is against like Arizona's and like all the way up there, top of the totem pole dudes, Kai. They call them dudes, I think, these days. We saw that exposed. Until John Shire unleashes Sean Stewart, I'm just not. I'm going to always have a little bit of a hesitation with this Duke team, and can they compete on the glass? And Flip's been an absolute stud, but he needs some help up front. Mitchell's been good, but again, they need Stewart to really set. I think that's kind of the skeleton key to Duke's ceiling. But
they tried Stewart early yesterday against Michigan State.
I know, it wasn't great.
This isn't working.
I know, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah. So I think they're still trying to figure that out. They don't have like a real test again until Arkansas on November 29th.
Yep.
That's not a Ryan Young game. So I
that
think
is exactly.
They need Sean Stewart in that one. So
I love that Duke will have Arizona and Arkansas. You're right. 2 of like the 5 teams that like have all the way elite athletes where we can kind of prove the Ryan Young thing's not going to stick. So hopefully Stewart can get some some reps. All right, enough about Duke. Kai, Kansas, Kentucky. Where do you want to start here?
Let's start with Kentucky. How about the losing team, as we did with Michigan State? They actually impressed me more than I expected. I think they're better than I originally thought coming into the game. Dillingham was awesome. Reed Shepherd was awesome. The other two freshmen, Wagner and Edwards, were just no-shows. I know it's one game against the best team in the country, arguably, but holy moly, were they overrated from the recruiting aspects. The real, who am I talking about? Antonio Reeves, right. Yep. Everyone is going to see Antonio Reeves put up 24 points and say, one of the best guards in the country, hands down, 24 against Kansas. Antonio Reeves shot 7 for 25 from the field in that game.
3 of 17 from 3. 3 of 17 from 3, yeah.
Us three could shoot 7 for 25 against anybody.
Cal was digging him in the post-game presser. He's like, if you're going to launch up 5 threes in the final couple minutes, you better hit one. Holy he didn't say Reeves, but he said that. And it's like, well, we all know who you're talking about here.
Yeah. Tierro's awesome. Jim, too. Yeah, my gosh.
Tiero freaking ruled. You mentioned Edwards and Wagner. They were a combined 1 for 18 from the field. I think it might have been Greg Waddell that tweeted something like, how was this a close game considering how poorly Edwards, Wagner, and Reeves played? And that maybe shows you the depth of Kentucky. I like this version, Matt. It's so fun to watch them spread it out and have a ton of awesome guards. Reed Shepherd rules. I was talking with Reegs from Barstool, a big Kentucky guy. He's like, I think people just didn't know how to rate him recruiting wise because he played horrible competition in small town Kentucky. And he's like a top 20 recruit. Look at him. He just makes plays like crazy. He can shoot. He ended up being one of the podium guys after the game because of how good he was. But yeah, I mean, it's, I think, telling that Edwards and Wagner and Reeves can all play pretty bad, and they are right there with the number 1 team in the country on a night when Dickinson plays great and Adams plays really well and Harris is a monster and Kentucky's right there.
Yeah, I think the Reeves stuff really struck a chord in a bad way with Kentucky fans because him kind of going AWOL and chucking and missing brings back tumultuous memories of the K-State loss. He kind of shot them out of the game if you want to just, call a spade there.
1 for 15 in that game. 1 for 15.
1 for 10 from 3. Not good. They have Dillingham. They don't need Dillingham and Reeves, right? Like you basically have 2 like super microwave guys who can just take over at any point in time. I don't think you need 2 of those guys. I think that's going to be...
That's like what Wagner thinks enough. He is too, right?
Yeah, right. So you're going to have some
balance. That's why Shepherd needs to play because he doesn't.
Shepherd, I think, is the steadying rock for sure. Agree with that. Trey Mitchell up front, at least, while you can kind of debate his impact, I like him. I think he's sort of a calming presence as much as we used to think he was a volatile dude at UMass. I like the upside of this team a ton, right? I think you saw tons of talent and potential, and I think Calipari is very much in the early tinkering phases with this squad. So I'm just glad he's kind of letting them run. Like I think he's just letting, the governor has been taken off and hopefully at least results in some fun games. Now they're going to lose some heck stretch. Their schedule has, let's see, like when St. Joseph's comes to Rupp. Can't you see St. Joe's beating them at Rupp? And it's like, oh, Kentucky's terrible. Like there's some close. Marshall's kind of competitive this year, right?
Yeah. Oh, and like road in the SEC, they're gonna a Tuesday night at South Carolina. These guys are gonna lollygag into the gym and probably have a much closer game than you expect. Like I tweeted it last night when they're dialed in like they were in that first half. Like holy cow, are they good? But I think the focus is gonna wax and wane with them.
UNC, Wilmington, Penn. I mean, going to Louisville, I know Louisville's Louisville, so maybe I shouldn't even entertain this, but you can sort of see. No,
you should not. That's Louisville's literally the nicest thing that's been said about Louisville on this podcast.
I'll move on. We did some Louisville bashing behind the scenes last night. I feel bad for Louisville at this point. Let's put them to the sidelines. Kansas. I think just my takeaway, another clinic of coaching for Bill Self. Like the Kentucky story is long-term horizon, looks great in the game. They did everything you can do to lose that game down the stretch, right? Kansas is the opposite, right? Long-term, I have major concerns. Is there a bench? No. Nick Timberlake is kind of a nothing, and I was swung and missed on that one. But in the moment in the game, that's what like Bill Self championship caliber teams do, right? They just had guys make plays, they executed. So it's a funny, conflicting way to look at, through the lens of both these teams. Like Kentucky in the moment, long term, oh, okay. Kansas in the moment, yeah, wow, very good. Long term, do you have 8th player on this team. So, Jim, where do you stand with the Beakers, as your Mizzou alumni so unlovingly calls them?
I'm not sure they have a 6th player, Matt. I like Parker Brown. Okay, he was not good last night. They threw Jamari McDowell in there late, and he played some quality defense at 2 big free throws. Maybe he's useful, but we're worried about shooting with this team. DeJuan Harris hit 5. Dickinson had 1 at the end of the half, and no one else hit a 3. Furphy, McCullough, Jackson, Timberlake, 0 for the game. That's really concerning long-term to me. I mean, yes, they still won, Kai, and that's a major credit to how well Dickinson played in the paint. The guy talks his shit, but he backs it up. I have to tip my cap to that. And then DeJuan Harris, like, just completely took over. Christian Brown tweeted after the game, like, that's what, like, Harris can score whenever he wants. He just really likes passing. Like, it's been that way since middle school or something.
I believe it.
He's just
100%.
He's just super fun with the way he plays, and he took over when he needed to. So, like, Kai, I don't think this is with a bullet number 1 team in the country by any stretch of the imagination. So I think they're going to go through some ups and downs too. And KJ Adams' foul trouble hurt them a little bit late. So the depth concerns me. Lack of shooting is still very much a glaring worry.
Yeah, they maybe have the best 4 players in the country, like Foursome. Harris might be the best point guard. He led the Big 12 in 3-point percentage last year. Shoot the ball. He's a really good shooter.
He's like fooled opponents into not guarding him, but he just makes them.
Right.
McCullough had a triple-double. He was kind of quiet offensively, but triple-double. He impacts the game. Dickinson's awesome. KJ Adams is awesome. But, man, I'm not sure there's a 5th guy, man. Marco Jackson, I'm not impressed with. Timberlake, I'm going to do a victory lap early. He's not this level of player. I said it when he transferred. I said when he was going to North Carolina, he wasn't that type of player. Furphy's still young. We'll see. But, yeah, the depth is concerning. But, man, when you have the 2nd best player in the country, arguably in Dickinson, the best point guard in Harris, one of the best 2-way wings in McCullough, and one of the most underrated players in the country in Adams and Self, it's a pretty good start. You're still top 3, right?
Yeah. Can I quick reminder people that are, I think, going to start to like maybe Dickinson better than Edey? Kentucky has no bigs, none, 0, nada, Zippo size. Dickinson was completely destroying fools inside. It's why he had 20 boards. Let's pump the brakes on crowning him National Player of the Year until he plays some real front courts.
Yeah, there was a handshake agreement, I think, between Self and Calipari. It's like, all right, defense is going to be kind of a wash tonight because we got bigs and we're going to punish you inside, but we're going to have those bigs guard your guards, and that's not going to work either. And it's basically what happened for 40 minutes. Juan Harris is a hashtag my guy. I think he is going to get a little talking to from Self behind the scenes after the sample size of 3 games. And I think he's going to say, hey, you got to shoot this thing this year. Like, we need you. Like, long-term, you're going to have to shoot that consistently. So looking for some DeJuan Harris Player of the Year futures. I can't find a good price out there.
You silly goose.
He had like 2 points in the first 2 games combined. Like,
but he had like 30 assists and like 1 turnover, and I was against nobody. I think he's going to have some big games and big moments, and I think he'll be like the clear alpha of this team, honestly, like heartbeat of the team.
Can't win Player of the Year and average 10 points a game.
I think if he averages like 7 assists and has defensive reputation, he's going to get in there.
Kolek was like 14 and 7 last year and wasn't in. He was first team All-American, but he was not in the conversation. To
if you take Edey away, though, isn't Kolek probably winning
last year?
Yeah,
I'd have to look back.
Trace Jackson Davis.
Speaking of cut,
TJ Davis.
Yeah, the bigs always have the gaudy stats. Justice for guards. Hashtag justice for guards. Kai, Juan Harris or Tyler Kolek?
Brunson. What? Kolek.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Jim.
Kolek.
Okay.
Kolek put up like 23 and 6 on the road at a Big Ten, a good Big Ten team on a bad
on 1 foot. Yeah. That was incredible. Anyway, we can debate that later. I actually think it's pretty close. But final thoughts on the overall venue, event, concession. But great work by the U Center. Buffet was outstanding. Media row behind the scenes.
No, it was good. I can't wait till we're on the baseline instead of the clouds, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, my king. And we transitioned seamlessly until we've saw that things we saw, had our eyes to the microscope, and we saw some not so great things. I think this is kind of taking a negative tone. I think it's more fun to poke fun at some. The first one is
positive, Matthew, for Providence fans out there.
It is. I think it's important for both of you to stand up and have a take a bow or acknowledgement for Kimmy English, your boy, getting the first big marquee win at the artist formerly known as the Dunk against the Buzzcut Badgers. Kai, Your opening statement.
The section's called "We've Saw That," so I want to tell Providence fans we see you. We acknowledge the fact that Providence owned Wisconsin. The game was 13 at the end, but they controlled the entire game.
Yeah.
So we see you. Kim English off to a good start. Still not ready to crown him as a fantastic coach. Jim, as Jim mentioned on Twitter, and in I'm sure he's going to say it, we were not low on Providence coming into the season. We were higher than the coaches poll.
I think like being skeptical of Kimmy and some of our the statements on him has had people been like, wow, they hate Providence. We picked them higher than the Big East coaches. So like, if you want to be mad at somebody being low on Providence, go yell at your literal own coaches who voted in this. They had Xavier higher. I think that's insane. I think maybe not insane, but like, I definitely think Providence is better. Kim English is a good defensive coach. I think he was at George Mason. He's got some really good defenders.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Devin Carter is a fantastic defender. The front court of Hopkins and Oduro is fairly versatile. I have questions with how they value possessions offensively in terms of shot selection and turnovers and some late game execution stuff in close games. But if you're not playing a close game, that doesn't matter. If you're going to blow out Wisconsin like they did, clearly be the better team, then not worried about it. Like I've said, there is a major opportunity for English here because the roster is good and he's got a great fan base, home court advantage. He could be fantastic this year, Matthew.
Can I say one more thing? Let's think of this from a betting perspective. Providence is 1-1-1 against the spread. All right, so they're not destroying expectations right now. In fact, they're basically where everyone expected in terms of the market. They've played 3 home games. Let's just wait a second before we crown him, Matthew.
Yep, yeah, K-State at a neutral. English first tank. Let's see what happens.
Yummy. Yeah, Tyler Perry. Good luck scheming against him, Kim English. He may be scheme proof. That dude just makes every shot I've ever seen him take.
If Tyler Perry goes for 35 against Providence, will Jim ever shut up?
Probably no, you won't. I may join you on that yelling brigade too. But yeah, Jim, even the George Mason fans would acknowledge Kimmy was fantastic defensively. I think offensively they were a little bit, they were left unsatisfied. I think Kimmy defenders could say the Josh Oduro factor, sort of the excuse that Indiana fans gave Mike Woodson for Trey Jackson Davis, and now they're trying to see what Woodson's supposed to instill on offense, and it hasn't really come to fruition. I think that's what Mason fans, Providence fans want to see. What does his offense look like when maybe they have some more modern players there? But obviously, Oduro's still there, and he's still got to utilize him. So offense, I think, will be clunky for Providence, but defensively, they're going to be very good. That's all I have there. We move fourth. We head west, really. The Pac-12. You know what? Can I lead off with this, though? The Oregon State Beavers are 3-0. It's a team of destiny. 2 straight overtime wins to lead off the year. Troy and App State. Jordan Pope is the Messiah.
Baby.
Yeah, they do. Wyatt Wayne Tinkle scheduled 2 of the feistiest Sun Belt teams to start the year with a young team. Is just terrible scheduling, but they're undefeated. You know who's not undefeated? USC lost to UC Irvine. Stanford lost to Santa Clara, 2 cross, regional rivalries, you want to call them. And then Washington. God, the whole NorCal thing, you need to put this to bed. Santa Clara and Stanford are both in the same region of the state.
They're
digress.
20 miles from each other. They're 20 miles.
I'm not down.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just saying, I love your California geography.
I know. I'm very proud of my geographical acumen. Speaking of the Pac Northwest, Washington loses to Nevada at home, wire-to-wire loss. And Cal lost to Pacific, but I want to say this quickly because we love Mark Madsen and we're biased for him, and we don't want to, I don't want to throw any. I don't want to harp on that because there's no Jalen Tyson in that game, correct?
No, he was there. That was his debut.
First game back.
They don't have Keontae Kennedy, and they have like 6 good players, so they're down to 5.
The other USC and Stanford are both missing key guys, but you still should not.
Yeah, most alarming of these, Kai, of all these results, which one is like, red flag for this team?
I actually don't think any of them are super alarming, to be honest.
I agree. I'm kind of with you on that.
I guess I'll choose UC Irvine, USC, because UC Irvine has not looked very good this season. But Boogie Ellis is their best player, and he didn't play. So.
Yeah, I'm saying Stanford because I just think it's like a continuation of Haas doesn't maximize talent, and Brandon Angel was out, but he's not their best player by any means. And they started 6 for 6 from 3 and just let Santa Clara right back in it. Maddie, your boy Herb Sendek can coach a little bit.
Yeah, he can. He's got some talent too. We hyped up some of those dudes, but yeah, Herb Sendek on your non-con schedule, that's not a good decision. I'm with Kai. None of these actually are that alarming to me, given who was out. I think what we have here is a narrative where the Pac-12 stinks in the non-conference again, but they're actually not that bad. And they get into the tournament with, 3 or 4 teams. They make big runs, and we all have did we discount the Pac? It's like, yeah, I think we did. So that's the archetype I want to see in sort of their last season. in existence, but
three of these teams are not making the tournament. Washington, Stanford, and Cal are probably not going to make it.
Yeah, I would probably agree. With these losses, certainly put you behind the 8 ball. All right, we'll head back east. How about Dave Paulson, an early 3-Man Weave podcast guest, fan favorite of ours, knocks off Mr. Ed Cooley in Georgetown, Kai. I think we've been hearing a lot about how the Hoya resurrection would take some time. I think you got to go ahead and knock off Holy Cross, though, Ed. I think you got to come away with the W here. I'm right. Yeah, I know it's a work in progress.
There's no excuse. Holy Cross has a new coach too,
and new players,
and they're not as talented as Georgetown. So we knew it was going to take a little bit of time. This is a bad loss. This is a horrible loss. If Patrick Ewing had this loss, you would have like people rioting, right? So Cooley should not get a pass for this either.
Yeah, Holy Cross went 5 of 20 from deep.
They weren't even hot. I know.
They still scored 1.17 points per possession. The team is like almost all guards. They have no interior scoring, and they're still easily scoring at the bucket. Kai, this is one first-year coach that I didn't get super excited about, but I just a consistent reminder to myself, these things take time, and we're going to talk about like St. John's is like that. Last year, Rhode Island and UMass, like there's just you gotta maybe not overreact to a good hire in year one.
Yeah, well, unless you're Holy Cross, Dave Paulson, great hire. Although
nice
Sacred Heart took care of business the very next game against Holy Cross.
Yep.
The old letdown spot. Yes. Other bye game upsets. We probably should plug the Indiana almost upset against Army. I feel like I heard more about that than I did the Georgetown actual loss, probably because of my
we don't have a thought on this, do we?
My own chamber, but I just want to kind of mention it. It happened. It was not pretty.
We're previewing Indiana UConn to finish the show.
We'll talk about it then.
I will get Indiana stuff off my chest in that one.
Much to the chagrin of my Indiana fans who have no tolerance, by the way, for your.
I can't believe how much crap I'm getting for it because did we watch the same game? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was not good. Notre Dame losing to Western Carolina. Well, the Catamounts are a good team, so I'm not going to laugh at Micah Shrewsbury. A much more excusable loss than, let's say, the Ed Cooley to Holy Cross game, but still losing at home to a SoCon team doesn't exactly sit well probably in the mouths of Notre Dame fans. DePaul losing to Long Beach after losing to Fort Wayne, so now they've lost 2 of their first 3 bye games. They bounced back with emphatic fashion to knock off the Yotes of South Dakota last night, who play no defense. DePaul's, whatever. We don't need to, DePaul's DePaul. Louisville losing to Chattanooga, not even a bye game, just like an obvious loss, right? Like that was very much expected.
I think it was a bye game though still.
It was a bye game, but like it doesn't feel like classified as a bye game because Louisville, I feel like, is now just like a bye game opponent for other teams. So it's just like, Louisville lost again. Prince Washer
paid him to come beat you. That's
big checks too. I know. Great for the schools that got the Louisville on the schedule during the Kenny Payne era. Like just a good ROI investment. So well done for Painuga and others. West Virginia losing to Monmouth. Yeah, we knew it'd be sort of a turbulent start there, given the quick change in regime. But man, I think Monmouth's a beatable team. Shouts to King Rice though, and his son Xander for getting the job done.
I don't think Monmouth is good at. I know they're not as good as Missouri State, and I think Jacksonville State's better. West Virginia beat both those teams, so I don't know. Kind of weird.
Yeah,
West Virginia is struggling.
Yeah, no Kriisa for 6 more games. The backcourt's really it just lacks some pop. There's not a lot of scoring there. So when he gets back, that certainly will help. But I still think this team's outside the top 100 by the end of the year, potentially last in the Big 12.
And then LSU, after blowing the doors off the Delta Devils, Valley State, who, by the way, hung admirably with UConn for 40 minutes last night, but they did lose to Nichols. So just a quick confirmation that Mizzou fans probably got the right hire with Dennis Gates instead of Matt McMahon. So you can sleep well at night knowing that is your head coach. And that's all we have for 3 minutes. Sorry, for Weave saw that.
Can I just quick mention that LSU was down like 40-15 in that game to Nichols?
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
It wasn't like they lost. They were getting pounded and had to fight back and couldn't quite get it done late. Nichols, a little more competitive this year than we thought they'd be with a coach who is was playing
25 years old
last year. Yeah, he's like 28 or something.
Yeah, he's 28. I don't think he's 25.
I know it feels like when you get to mid 30s and you hear 28 feels like sounds like 25 to me. Nice job, Tavon Sadler, and congrats on your successes at such a young, ripe age. That's all we have. We're going to hit the thoughts, but Jim, we have an ad from one of our fine sponsors.
hockey pass over to Kai or extra pass over to
good.
Kai.
Nice.
Kai's
Jim's got
our
the
best
hoodie.
ad reader. I am wearing a home field hoodie right
Yes.
now for the people watching on the stream. They can see that. Listeners don't know that. But Kai, it's comfy. I'm cozy. It's kind of cold in my apartment, so it feels great.
Yeah.
Love home field.
Home field's the best, man. The best collegiate apparel you can buy. It's soft, it's well made, and they have a bunch of new stuff. They're getting into the bomber jacket market. Goodness gracious, do these bomber jackets look cool? Not just Mizzou, but other schools as well. They have a ton of schools you can buy shirts from, hats they're coming out with. They got some joggers on the site, homefieldapparel.com. You've definitely heard of this by now. If you've been a listener of our podcast, we stand them. They're fantastic. They are located in Indianapolis, and they do college sports memorabilia and apparel correct. So they are at Homefield APPARL on Twitter. If you want to tweet at them, if they don't have your school somehow, tweet at them. Ask them to get your school on a shirt. Gosh darn it. And you can also buy Weave shirts on Homefield. The link's at the top of our website, 3-man-weave.com. But if you go to homefieldapparel.com and you go to checkout, first purchase, 15% off using our promo code 3MW. That is Homefield. Wear one for the team.
Matthew.
That's all we have for sponsors. Sorry,
you're
I froze there.
You're a hosty.
I forgot I was actually leading this podcast today. And now we will talk about three men thoughts. And I'm going to kick it to myself to start it off here. But really, I'll just kick it to both of you. It's really just a quick premise for a short discussion here. Champions Classic last night. Field of 68 after dark, they were talking about conference comparisons. Everyone loves conference comparisons, right? I think it's stupid and bogus, but I think people like knowing where their conference stands in the grand scheme. Overreactions after a weekend of the year. Big bad battle royale, Kai. And I think let's talk about specifically the Big East versus Big Ten in the context of the Gavitt Games in its final year, RIP, and then how these two leagues stack up with the SEC and Big 12, which I think are pretty unanimously considered the two best leagues, what we've seen so far, what we thought preseason. The Big East and Big Ten, though, I think have some questions to answer, right? You put them in the interrogation room, one or both could crack under the right line of questioning. If you were going to hold one of those two conferences feet to the fire first, who would you lead with?
Well, Big 12 is the best conference in America, and I don't think it's particularly close. If the Big East did not have DePaul and Georgetown, I think they'd be second. But the SEC, I think, is the second best conference. The top of that league is incredible, and so is the Big East. They're 2-3 for me. Big Ten's fourth as far as pecking order goes. Jim.
Yeah, I don't think the Big Ten's been all that strong so far to start this year.
Yeah,
there's been some
Big Ten, Big
losses.
East have some issues. Yeah, they do.
And this is typically why the Big Ten gets like 9 teams all seeded 7 through 10 because they're good at this portion of the year. They win these early season games. They don't drop a ton of bye games. We're starting to see a little bit of flaw in that armor. Matt, the Gavitt game so far, Big Ten came out punching. Purdue, easy big win. Michigan, easy win at Madison Square Garden against a disheveled St. John's team. But then Big East punches back with 3 wins last night. Providence, Marquette, and Creighton. One of those on the road, Marquette at Illinois. Yep. So I do think the Big East is a little better. Big Ten is it's not quite as up as it's been. It's a little bit of a down non-conference for them so far.
Yeah, I think Gottlieb said on the After Dark show, like just the Big Ten and the reluctance to play freshmen big minutes, I think is starting to catch up with them, right? I think you're seeing the talent drain to some degree, and then even the teams like Sparty who can get the 5 stars, you got Kentucky letting them just go free, unrestricted out there, and then you got Izzo kind of keeping them close to the vest, and I just don't think that bodes well long term for getting top notch talent. But hey, we'll see. It's early. That's all I have. I just kind of want to pose that question to both of you guys because I do think both leagues, Big Ten especially, like the Big East, I think they're down is rooted to like Xavier. The injuries, right, was a big part there.
Yeah, but Butler could be up, man.
And Butler could be up. Well, we know that Mata's got those boys rolling and Hinkle. But yeah, we'll get to Big Ten later. Let's keep it going to actually, Kyle, go to you. Let's go Big East. Double click.
I'm going to steal it to set up a little transition for Kai. The remaining Gavitt Games matchups: Georgetown, Rutgers tonight, Wednesday, and then Friday, Butler at Michigan State. Maybe Butler puts them to 1-3 and puts the real hurt locker in East Lansing. And then Kai, I'm going to maybe dictate the thought you're going to. Maryland at Villanova is the finale of the Gavitt Games this year. Friday night. Yes,
Gross
two
versus
teams
Grosser.
that are
Yeah.
having a tough start.
These teams are both involved in my thoughts. My first is on Villanova, Kyle Neptune. This is why we doubted this team. It's an undisputed, fantastic roster. It's so talented, and yet they're still not a great team. And why is that? Usually it's coaching. And we saw it last year, and we did not make them a top 10 team this season, even though they would be 100% with Jay Wright with this roster, because we can't trust Neptune. You cannot lose to Penn as an 11-point favorite. I see Nova fans getting antsy with Neptune now, and they should. This is a horrible loss, and it might be rinse, wash, repeat for the Cats, unfortunately, this season, Matthew.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to make the list of the coaching hires that were sort of cherry picked from within the family, quote unquote, right? I mean, John Shire, Hubert Davis, Kyle Neptune, Fordham, but he was obviously
Payne,
a Nova, born and bred. Kenny Payne.
Was he a handpick? I think he was.
There's a couple more on my list I need to pull out here. But point being, the Neptune one's tough. The roster is so good, and I loved it. And, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me situation here.
Matt, I'm not sure you realize this number, but I think it's going to make you even angrier. Do you know how many minutes Hakeem Hart played against Penn?
My favorite player, best player in the team, arguably, 2 ways. No, did not play enough, I assume.
He played 9 minutes. Just completely buried. He's not their best player.
Yeah,
it's
Justin
silly.
Moore. I know, sorry, but
But
I love
like,
Hart.
I think he's a big part of why Maryland is struggling. We're going to get to that a little bit later on in the thoughts here. Like losing him on the wing, and now I have no idea why he's not playing there. Also, Villanova, I know you love taking the three. You can't take more threes than twos against Penn's interior defense. This is not some super stout shot blocker laden inside defense. They're sitting out there launching threes, not getting easy buckets inside. Dixon had a horrible game. Not horrible, but not great. They don't function the same way as they used to, even with a skilled, versatile lineup.
It's
the
really
ball
hard.
is very. If there's not a lot of zip on those possessions we used to see under Jay Wright, it's just not there.
It's hard to lose with +7 turnover ratio and winning the glass battle.
Yeah,
it's really hard to lose, and they did to Penn, and they were down by a lot. Yikes! All right, that's my thought to Jim.
All right, we're gonna get a little more positive here.
Yes.
Matt, we're going to talk about an amazing start in Ann Arbor. That's the Maize and Blue. Shout out there.
Kai, nice shot, boss.
Yeah, Kai and Matt absolutely all over this one. Michigan has been far better than anyone predicted. I was a little hesitant. I believe we have a board bet going. I can't remember which team I put up against Michigan. I'll have to double check that. But man, they came into Madison Square Garden, absolutely stomped the St. John's team that has major defensive questions. Oh boy. I'm a little worried about St. John's and some of the transfers they brought in, but this is about Michigan. Doug McDaniel, his speed kind of changes the game. They're getting really quality shots. Burnett and Kamla have been fantastic pieces. The Burnett career high in 9 minutes against St. John's was outrageous. But man, Kai, they just look like a team that likes each other, which they did not last year. You take Howard out of there and Buffkin maybe auditioning for the pros, and of course Dickinson being an abrasive presence. Now they just look super cohesive, and the ball moves, and man, Michigan's been fun to watch.
Team is a great chemistry. Their sophomores actually have made a leap. McDaniel looks fantastic. Terrace Reed looks good. I love that Kamwa's excelling because we really went to bat for him as a transfer. He's awesome. And if Burnett...
Best transfer in the Big Ten?
Yeah, he could be.
I think so.
And Burnett, the concern was, is he healthy, though? Like, he's always hurt. Shoot, if he's fully healthy, remember, he was a pretty big recruit. He's very good.
Yeah,
I almost went back to our 2019 Texas Tech preview, and when we were all over him.
Yeah, so this team rocks, man. I'm all in on Michigan. I don't think it's because I don't give all the credit to Martelli, by the way. I think this team would do just as well with Howard in charge right now.
I agree. I'm not saying this is all Martelli and Howard would ruin it, but I think Martelli isn't. It's a reminder of how important he's been to this program's success, and I think he has his fingerprints all over this current success. The offense is surprising, obviously. The defense is what actually I'm most impressed by. I think we knew they'd guard, but they really look like they can defend. And that's just a good backbone to have, especially if their offense keeps cooking. So yeah, and Doug McDaniel, Mach 5 gear in the open floor. Fun to watch him.
The defense hasn't been awesome. Two opponents over 1 point per possession. I don't
The
know.
first half especially was like defense optional of Michigan.
I guess St. John's, it
St.
wasn't
John's.
great. That's fair. That's fine.
And-
The
and
game
yeah,
got a little
over-
helter-skeltery, but
And-
I think
yeah,
the
but
defense is
if-
going to be there. It's fine.
If I had to, like, my small devil's advocate here is that I think they played 3 bad defenses. Like, I don't think Asheville guards much. Youngstown's like trying to figure out, they're playing more zone. They have no clue what to do defensively. And St. John's looked lost. So maybe down in Atlantis when they start with Memphis and they like Texas Tech's in that, Arkansas's down there, I think maybe they'll have a little bit more trouble, but they could win Atlantis and suddenly everybody's like, whoa, top 10 team.
And also Big Ten too, doing the 2 conference games in December, like the teams that start off well, you feel good about that. Like, they they host Indiana on December 5th. Like in 3 weeks, Indiana, the team you just saw play Army, has to play Michigan. Like, that's tough. You know what I mean? So I think as a Big Ten team, the Big Ten teams that look good early, which aren't many right now, you feel good about you can bank 2 wins early before the other guys figure it out.
All right, Matt, back to you on thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to do a quick a debut of a segment I'd like to maybe have a semi-recurring on here, where we always talk behind the scenes about players that we like eye test wise, maybe below the radar nationally, or maybe just opportunities for us to say, haha, I saw that guy first. That's my guy. I was the first to discover him, which is always fun to do. Receipts, all that nonsense. A lot of guys have emerged so far. I just want to give a quick shout out to my first member, and I think these are all kind of collage. freeonleave.com. For those who aren't familiar, we kind of choose our favorite dudes collectively, and they get put on a poster, a mantle, if you will. A unfortunate omission for me when I was kind of thinking in the last under duress, I did not put Jordan Pope on there. Again, another shout out to Oregon State and the Peyton Heads. In this era of college basketball where you see all the best players just filtered to the best programs with all the best money, Jordan Pope is like a premier talent and special player. And it's just awesome that he decided to stay at Oregon State under Tinkle, and how much that's going to yearn in terms of like, postseason success this year. Yeah, we'll see. We've seen Wayne Tinkle do crazy voodoo magic things in the Pac-12 tournament, make a big run in March with lesser than great talent. And if you have a star like Jordan Pope as kind of your alpha each night, I think you have a chance against anybody. I'm not going to make a Oregon State goes to the tournament prediction here, Kai, but I will say Jordan Pope is awesome. And any player that is of Jordan Pope's caliber that stays local, stays true to his roots, he gets an extra premium of interest from me. So shout out to Jay Pope, smooth stroke, just an absolute gamer of a dude. Love him out there.
How do you have a my guy here at all?
Do I have a my guy?
I'll let you think. Mine is Harry Wessels for St. Mary's.
Yeah,
he's their
good
backup
call,
center.
Jimbo.
So it's like, what are you talking about? But just completely popped on the eye test watching them. I know they lost to Weber State. I get it. And I think Saxon has one more year. But whenever Wessels takes over as starter, I think he's going to have like a Jock Landale type leap. Maybe not quite All-American, like National Player of the Year candidate like Landale was, but he's high usage, efficient, mobile, has really good hands and touch. Just a big man pipeline factory development at St. Mary's. I love Wessels.
Yeah.
He's got.
How about Bowden Schoonberg for North Dakota State?
Not my guy anymore. Not my guy anymore. I could do a whole thought on North Dakota State. I will not. Tyler Perkins for Penn. He's gotten a little press.
Yes, great call.
Freshman.
Great call.
He's incredible. Penn just gets a good guard every year. It seems like they just find guys. So yeah,
Yep.
Tyler Perkins.
I almost threw Wooga Poplar on here, Kai, after we sat there and like laughed at how bad he was. I mean, he's only 14 of 20 from 3 this season, 8 of 8 from the foul line. So someone call that efficient. Yep.
Yeah. In the barn burner with FIU. They're not that good, Miami guys. All right.
Yeah. They're gonna be good in March when they're tough to beat, but it's Miami's Miami. Like, they are good, they're well coached, but they're not gonna beat teams consistently. They're gonna have some ripples for sure. Fun section. Nice shot, Matt. Kai, to you. Your second thought.
I teased Maryland. Let's talk Maryland real quick. Panic time? ? Did we overrate this team? Did the world overrate this team? Right now, it appears so. They lost to UAB and Davidson last week as solid favorites, 6 to 8 point favorites. Jameer Young's been good as expected. The problem is the wings have not been there. They're young. I guess we expect them to be good right away. Clearly, they need time. Now, they are shooting 22% from 3. That probably gets better. There's probably some shooting regression coming from that. Kevin Willard, not a miracle worker, not a bad coach. So not sure he's necessarily a ceiling raiser, but definitely a floor maintainer.
Also, him losing all three of his assistants is worth noting here. Like that's kind of huge.
Maybe that is something.
Yeah, all in one offseason, tough.
I do think Maryland's going to turn it around, but you have two, probably quad 2 losses already. It's not looking great. I still kind of have hope for this team, but clearly not as ready as we thought they would be out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, their wings are like 6 of 40 from 3. Like they're just getting absolutely nothing from Kaiser, Batchelor, Harris Smith, and who's the other one? Oh, Jahari Long. So like, yeah, you're going to have to figure that out. Willard Kai seems like a guy that when he has expectations, underperforms them. When they have no expectations, way overperforms them.
Yep.
Like that's just kind of the lane Maryland is in.
Oh, Mark Turgeon, like the guy they had before. Sorry,
just like Mark Turgeon. Yeah,
very much so. Matt, do you have any other Maryland thoughts, or can I do a little transition?
Well, yeah. So Tony Skinn, George Mason, and
damn it, that's exactly my transition. How dare you? My transitions. Yeah, one of the assistants that's gone is Tony Skinn. He is at George Mason, and I'm going to heap a little praise on the A10. I feel like we ragged on it all the time last year. But man, it is like the most parity-ridden league you can find in the country right now. Every team is between 67 and 199 on KenPom. They're just kind of slotting in as competent. There's nobody elite, but there's no dregs of the league at all. The teams that have played poorly have been the ones with expectations, like Dayton, VCU, Fordham, St. Bonaventure haven't looked that good. Maybe Duquesne rocks. That's the one that I think has been, top 5 team that's actually looked really good. But Kai, the teams picked the bottom 7 in this conference are 17-1 overall.
Yeah.
And that includes like the Davidson win over Maryland. There's no bad losses. The only loss in that group is Davidson losing a close one to Clemson. So like George Washington, LaSalle, UMass, Rhode Island, George Mason, Davidson, Richmond, all those teams are taking care of business. That's how you end up getting multiple bids. I mean, you got to win some big games too in the non-con, but not dropping bad ones is really important, and having no bottom in the league is key.
Yeah, the only one I'm shocked about is UMass. I thought they'd be pretty terrible. They're shooting 42% from 3. I don't think that continues, but they are clearly better than I expected. Rhode Island, I totally buy. That team was due for a major uptick. George Mason hasn't played great teams, but they have a lot of talent. LaSalle has Fran Dumphy, so there's always a floor. And George Washington had a lot of potential as well. So not super surprised by those teams, but yeah, a really good sign for the league. The top guy is not performing super well, besides Duquesne, but yeah, I think the A10 is clearly a lot better than last season.
Yeah, you mentioned the projections for conference records, the worst being 4 teams finishing in last place at 7-11 is what KenPom has right now. I think that's a very realistic possibility. Like, I don't think Fordham's bad at all. I think Fordham's good. They're not as good as last year, but they're still very good. LaSalle, I think we were impressed with them when we watched Drexel. Like, they have some real guards who can do some stuff. George Washington, UMass, like, this is going to be a brutal league. Worried about Dayton. I think Dayton's still the best team without Malachi Smith.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The top of the league race is going to be extremely intriguing because, like I said, the top teams just haven't looked that sharp.
Yep.
But overall, Kai, the league is 22-12 against the spread. So A10 has been exceeding expectations to this point. Matt, your third thought?
Just a quick annoyance. I'm tired of hearing a lot of these coaches, and maybe this is talking on both sides of my mouth. Every coach is using the work in progress, it's early excuse. Like, every single coach that does a presser in any sort of capacity, and I won't name names. It just, you had all, I know there's restrictions to playing live action games, but you had all offseason to practice and prepare. So everyone's in the same footing here. Like, I know you have some foreign teams out there that have the extra practices, but I'm sort of like, I'm rolling my eyes at we haven't, it's going to take a lot of time to get, like football just goes out and you just play big games right away. Like, you don't have like a whole 1 month trial and error petri dish period to get your shit together. You guys go out and play basketball. So just sort of a recurring theme of annoyance I hear out there. And yes, I do think that there is some NCAA rules and restrictions that could be fixed to make it maybe better. But again, it's like when we got sick of every coach citing the COVID thing, it's like everyone dealt with the same thing. You're all playing in the same battlefield here. So I don't know. If you have a tough start, I don't feel bad for you. I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, unless
So,
you're just gutted with
better
injuries.
thought from Matt.
Then I feel bad for you if you're gutted.
Okay, injury is different circumstance, no question.
I hate to I want to figure out who I have first before I play a tough game. It's like if you're playing your season opener against another good team, it's their season opener too. I hate that oh, I need to figure it out before I play a good team. It's just I don't like that excuse at all. Micromanaging, that's what that is.
It's I hate the conference thing, butting out non-conference, but I actually like a couple early conference games. Like I would like all the leagues to play their opener as a conference game and then play non-conference for 2 months, just to like.
Remember the ACC did that? It was awesome. I loved it.
It was awesome. Yeah, bring it back. It was
I'm
cool.
not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. These teams are totally different, and conference should have stayed where it was, in my opinion.
Nah,
It's ridiculous having it before 1-1, in my opinion. But
lame. Disagree. Next,
my last thought: Weber State, very good. Down 16 to St. Mary's and winning is crazy. Being down 16 to them, period, and coming back is crazy. Doing it at St. Mary's is nuts. The Gales rarely lose at home. They're a legit team. They still are a legit team. But yeah, Weber, tip your cap. Dylan Jones is a pro, a legitimate NBA prospect. The team itself is top 40 in experience per KenPom, top 10 in continuity. So they brought everyone back. They were expected to be good. Big Sky favorite for sure. My question is, they have an outside shot in at-large right now. With that win, which will be one of the best wins in the country, they have Yale on neutral and Colgate on neutral coming up. Those are both tough games they're not necessarily favored in, and games that they could definitely drop. Then they have a game at Nevada, who has looked pretty good so far. Aside from that, it's the Big Sky. You run the table in the Big Sky, maybe 1 or 2 losses in the Big Sky. It's possible for Weber State to get in at large. That would be crazy.
Them and JMU fighting to be this year's Wofford, this year's Florida Atlantic.
Yeah,
I love it.
right.
I love when a mid-major team emerges like above the fray and it's like we are awesome, dominant. And it's because Dylan Jones is like an NBA player and he's on a Big Sky team. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, with a lot of really good role players too. Like all those dudes that are playing around him are very legit. St. Mary's thoughts as a counter to that? Like, I know we love St. Mary's. Okay, right, we love St. Mary's, right? But there were games last year where they did this "we don't score for 10 minutes" thing, and I kind of that's when we talk about St. Mary's like a Final Four caliber team. Like I think you have to bookmark these types of incidents as like a cause for concern. That's all I'll say. I love them. They're awesome. They're amazing. Just a note there.
Yep, Matt, I'm taking the ball again here because Kai went with Weber. My last thought is just buzzing in the Beehive State. I'm going from Matt's titles on my thoughts here. Beehive State's been awesome. Every school in Utah has been pretty strong to start the year. Utah, 2 easy big wins over solid mid-majors. BYU is 2-0, got the big win over San Diego State. In the other schools, Utah Valley 1-0 against the spread, Utah Tech 2-0, Southern Utah 2-0. Utah State's 0-2, but one of those was against Southern Utah, and the other was an overtime non-cover. So, like excluding the one Utah versus Utah game, the state is 9-1 against the spread. So these teams look pretty darn sharp so far this year. Kai, maybe just there's less distractions in the state in the off season, so they've just been focused on ball all off season, just getting ready. They're good early.
The state loves ball. The state
laughable
loves ball.
Hypothesis, but yeah, no, I think I was beating the drum for Utah and BYU in the preseason. I think I said both make the tournament in our little bold predictions at the end of the futures episode. They look awesome. I kind of stand by it. Utah might still be a guard short, but Kai, I think BYU is fully legit.
I think BYU is fully legit as well, Jim. Utah, I think is awesome, but I lament it to you guys looking forward to tomorrow. KenPom has Utah too high. It sucks. I really wanted to bet them against Wake. I can't lay 5 against Wake. That's what KenPom's got it at. But they're awesome. They are. They're just a solid team. They're super well coached. The other Utah squads, Southern Utah, not as bad as I expected. Rob Jeter, going to give him a lot of credit here. That roster should be. That roster. I
can't believe they're competent.
But these guys are scoring. They're scoring a lot. They're shooting well. Utah State, I have a gripe with because they have not looked super crisp. That's to be expected as well, though. They have a team full of transfers, new coach there too. And then Utah Tech, Matt. I am 0-2 fading them, I believe. They have come back.
John Judkins is.
They've been down big both games and come back at the end. So
Their freshman point guard Demings rules. I have no idea how they got him from Duncanville, which is like one of the biggest powerhouses in the country. He's incredible.
Yeah, congrats to the Beehive State.
It's legitimately a state that loves hoop. Like, I don't know if you're power ranking states with basketball obsession, whatever. I don't know. That's a stupid. Utah is absolutely in that. It's not a coincidence that like every coach that's been hired in this state the last like 20 years has been pretty good. Like the programs know basketball pretty well, and they've made some very, very strong decisions. So nice shot, state of Utah.
They do know ball. Yep.
Like us.
That's it. I think that's it for thoughts, Matthew. Preview time.
And now we look forward in the crystal ball, Mr. McKeon. We have previews for the upcoming weekend. And yes, MTEs are upon us. A week early this year. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but that's where we are in the schedule. It's another kind of shallow Saturday slate, too. More of like a disjointed, heavy on Friday, Sunday, and then it gets real heavy next week into Turkey Week. Friday, though, 2 barn burners, one out west and one in Paradise. Kai, Kansas State versus Providence, as we talked about earlier, in the Bahamas, which should be a fun little tournament there. And then San Diego State plays St. Mary's, which should be a phenomenal tilt in the desert of Las Vegas. We'll start with the Aztecas versus the Gales. I think it's an obvious bounce back spot for both the Gales and the Aztecs after their, not troubling, but discouraging early losses, the non-con against 2 very good opponents we talked about, but still get right opportunities. Who do you like in the Aztecas versus the Gales?
Tough game. 2 teams I really like overall, and I think that are still really, really good, despite both kind of losing some pieces from last year. Defensive battle, for sure. Might be a little underplayed. The total's going to be super low, so maybe no edge there. I like St. Mary's. I think they're going to get it done. It's going to be around a pick, probably St. Mary's -1, something like that. But I trust the Gales here, Jim. I'm going with St. Mary's.
Revenge for San Diego State after last year. St. Mary's got them by 7 on a neutral floor. Maybe they'll bounce back. I think it almost helps St. Mary's that it's their first game after the loss, where San Diego State had that Long Beach State game to maybe exercise a little bit of their demons.
Yeah, right.
But I'm sure it's going to be the old, circled on the schedule kind of thing. We heard that with Syracuse last night against Colgate. But I imagine that Trammell and Lamont Butler, et cetera, are not thrilled about the loss last year. I'm still with Kai, though. I think St. Mary's bounces back. I like the way they execute. San Diego State, I think, is still kind of figuring things out, and they're doing a ton of playing through Ledee in the post, and you can't really score in the post against St. Mary's. They've got a great individual defender in Saxon, and they hard double sometimes, too. So I think this works out a little better for St. Mary's, Matt.
I agree. And Darian Trammell, not all the way 100% back. I know he played the last 2 games, but like he didn't look like the Darian Trammell I saw last year coming off the bench. And I think he's critical because the way you beat St. Mary's, you got to pressure him. You got to get up into Mahaney and Gus and make them feel uncomfortable. And you got to have unleash those dudes in full force. I think St. Mary's takes care of business for sure. K-State Providence, want to quickly highlight just how good Tyler Perry's been. Jim, you had sort of the stats, but 14 of 29 from 3 to start the season. And his sidekick, Cam Carter's been awesome, by the way. I think kind of under the radar. He was there last year, right? But not nearly as efficient as he has been this season. And without Arthur Kaluma playing last game, Dede Ames, freshman. I mean, Tang's good, man. I still don't think this team has got the same juice as last year, Jim, but certainly I'm worried that I discounted them yet again. David Geeson up front is just an awesome role player. Know your role big. My kind of forward. What do you think here in this tilt against your Friars?
I like K-State. I think Tang will have a little bit of a better game plan. Their backcourt is exceptional. Perry's averaging 25 and 5, 20, 5 and 5 on that insane perimeter shooting clip you're talking about. I'm not really worried if Kaluma's out. I just don't love him. I mean, he'd probably be a really good defender to throw on Bryce Hopkins. And like some of the ISO mid-post stuff that Providence does there, but Gassan can also do a little bit of that. And K-State has more guys that are competent than I realized. Like their freshman class is solid. Caleb Rich has been okay. Finister's been okay. Well, I guess he's been terrible, but like the freshman class has given them more without Tomlin and without Kaluma in there. So I like K-State here. Kai, Providence maybe riding a little too high off beating down a shaky Wisconsin effort.
Yeah, it comes down to Tang versus English, and I'm still giving Tang the edge here. Would not be surprised if Providence was favored. I think Arthur Kaluma, him being out, is good for Kansas State.
Yeah,
they're 0-2 against the spread with him. They destroyed South Dakota State without him in the lineup. I just don't think he's that good. I think he's really overrated. Like Jim said, their guards are amazing. K-State's guards are incredible. I like Kansas State here as well. And I'm sure I'll eat my words if Providence wins, and I'll talk to some Friar fans. But
Yeah,
K-State
absolutely.
for me.
All right, we move ahead in the calendar till Sunday, the Sabbath, where my Indiana Hoosiers terrifyingly will be taking on UConn, a team they look in no way ready to compete with. It'll be at the Garden. Awesome atmosphere, the holy mecca of college basketball. But Jim, here's how I see this one playing out. I think Indiana is going to get in a real close, too close for comfort tilt against Wright State on Thursday. Heck, they might even lose that game. But they're going to come out and they're going to compete all the way to the wire against the Huskies in the Garden, because I think this Indiana team is one that's sort of going to surprise people when they play teams that look like themselves in the mirror, which I know is sort of a really, really tough take given the putrid Army performance, which we can go into if we want to. But fun game here. Obviously, UConn, God, are they going to be laying 11 points per KenPom? I don't think it'll be that high. We'll see. Jim, thoughts?
Yes, it will.
I think that's too high. I don't want to see. I would probably bet Indiana if it's 11. UConn has played the most laughable joke
It's
of a
horrible.
schedule so
Yeah.
far. Like
Terrible.
3 teams that have no prayer of competing with them in the paint, and now suddenly you go against Renault, where Baco, I mean even Peyton Sparks. Get Anthony Walker off the floor. I never want to see him again. But there's size, strength, interior feistiness for Indiana, and I think they have an engagement problem. They were not focused at all for the Army game. I think you put the reigning national champion across from them in Madison Square Garden, and this team's going to be super dialed in. And like Matt said, feisty as an underdog. I just don't really know how Indiana scores either, because their shooting is non-existent and bad when they do shoot. So 11 would be too many for me. I wanted to just be like, oh, UConn rolls them, Kai, but I kind of buy that Indiana will be better in these underdog spots.
I can see this being a situation like the Xavier Purdue game where the spread gets out of hand. And it's like, wait a second. I mean, Xavier's down, Purdue's awesome, but they can't be an 18-point
Iowa
favorite.
Creighton too. Right.
So this game could get up to like 15. People saw the Indiana Army game, and I tweeted about it, and I got flack from Indiana fans. Guys, that first half was the worst college basketball effort I've ever seen from a team. Lazy, Army blowing by them on every single possession. Indiana shooting 8 threes against a team that you're just so superior than. Ware's lazy.
Even like,
I mean,
right.
God.
Like people saw Ware's box score and thought he was good in that game. And like, yes, he finished inside against an awful front court, but I thought he was so lazy in that game, especially first half.
I mean, and Xavier Johnson talking crap when their Army's a bottom 10 team in the country, and Indiana almost lost to him. That's effort. Woodson does nothing on the sidelines. Guy has never been like, he didn't even show an emotion on the sidelines. So imagine if Bob Knight was coaching that game for Indiana. Oh my gosh. They wouldn't.
Ooh, so here's my conspiracy theory.
Benched. It would have been a walk-on starting the next half. Anyways,
because
Matt,
it was Army, they,
Bob Knight.
as a tribute to Bob Knight, they didn't
roll over.
They just kind of, and here's my theory. When you play the Service Academy teams, like I would hate to play those teams. Like you can't get an edge against like the finest of all dudes. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't create like that FU mindset. Is that a dumb take? I don't know. I mean, teams just, sorry, I'm reaching at this point.
Army's players
Indiana was terrible in that game.
Are D1 players, but they're blowing by Indiana defenders. Like these like non-athletic Curry, the point guard, man, he's blowing by guys on the perimeter.
Ryan Curry, hashtag my guys list.
Army
Just giving it to the Hall faithful.
They also shot out of their butt. I mean, they're not that good at a shooting team. Like they still shot. Like
they only
30%.
shot 34% from deep. Yeah,
but still, some of the shots.
Crazy.
Anyways, Indiana not being able to shoot is bad news bears against UConn.
Yep, and as mentioned in the chat,
path to 20-point blowout.
Stephon Castle's status matters a lot.
Yep,
in terms of like versatile playmaking wing.
But to Matt's point about like seeing the like, UConn's not on the same plane as Indiana, in my opinion. UConn can shoot. UConn can shoot and will shoot. Indiana cannot. They have nobody that can shoot.
I think this game's close. I do. However, I'll make one more. I'll add another. Pour more gasoline on the Indiana fire. I think Andy Bottoms brought this up on the assembly call very astutely. Indiana's defense is like structurally concerning. Like with the way Woodson, I think Jordan Majewski's talked about this too, the way they overhelp like robots.
Yes.
It's just is so frustrating. And again, this is going back to my point. especially against like worse competition, like mid majors, who the only way they can beat you is with shooting. You don't need to play that way. Like I think if they play that way, it's going to actually be maybe okay against UConn. I know UConn has shooting, but like that at least will hold up better against better teams. It's just still a little bit worrisome with the way they're so rigid in how they defend, a little bit antiquated, and I don't know. Why is there a thumbs down on my screen? You guys see that? That was cool.
Yeah, so that was weird. Let Army drive by you and finish against
You're in
size.
Zoom.
Like
Probably.
I didn't do
Like,
anything though.
let Army try to finish against size is what I'm saying. Like that's like you shouldn't be overhelping off those guys.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it'll be
agree.
a little different with UConn, but like don't overhelp off Cam Spencer. Don't overhelp off Alex Caravan, or you're going to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, you'll get torched. Kai, please investigate that. There was a thumbs down while I was
saw
talking. I
that.
didn't do anything.
Hey,
that was weird.
Ware will do
Spooky.
nothing against Klingon. By the way, they played each other last year, UConn and Ware.
No, that's
and
right.
UConn destroyed them.
You were there?
Yeah.
I was there. It was not competitive.
Let's get to the MTEs. We got the Maui.
just
We got the
some mini
Charleston.
previews here. Yeah.
Yeah, quick previews here. Little macro scan of flyover, if you will. Maui Invitational will be on the island, but not the island, unfortunately, as our fine patrons in Maui continue to battle strong and recover. Please, we look forward to that returning to its rightful home at the Lahaina Civic Center, but it'll be on the mainland, or I guess Honolulu, the other mainland, whatever. Charleston Classic and the Myrtle Beach Invitational are probably the three best. The first two are really the ones I'm most excited about just for the location and the vibes. But with the Maui, field's great. Purdue, good team. Kansas, good team. Tennessee, good team. Marquette, good team. Gonzaga, good team. UCLA, good team.
Maybe.
Syracuse, better team. Chaminade,
No.
possibly you. I don't know.
On
Kai, thoughts on this? Your prediction to win this field, storylines, takes. Go.
Incredible field. Good luck choosing the team. I think Purdue, Kansas, Tennessee, and Marquette are like top 5 teams. So
And it's bracketed correctly where that could be the semis.
yeah,
Which I'm
Yep.
very happy with. Well done,
I'll,
Maui.
I'll go Purdue. I think they're the best team in the country.
Kansas has the Chaminade matchup to start, maybe gives them a slight mathematical advantage that they're basically in the semis already, whereas Purdue has to beat Gonzaga. I wish Kolek was healthy, or I might
I
go
know.
Renegade
Yep,
and
I agree.
pick Marquette. But I'm going to go with Purdue here as well. I think that's a really tough prep with 1 day turnaround, trying to figure out how to stop Edie.
I think the teams we talked about that we know are good, and they play accordingly. I think we learned 2 things from this field, Kai. UCLA is a little shaky, and Syracuse is a little more real than maybe people haven't quite picked up on yet. So
You see,
I
The
think
orange versus orange opening round matchup
Yeah.
against Tennessee. You think they hang in that one?
I think they do.
punked.
We're all super high on
Punked.
Syracuse, man. They're 0-3 against the spread. They have not been impressive this year. They just haven't.
no, they've been good. They've been
No,
good.
they haven't.
They've been
they've
good.
not
I think
been
they've been
good.
good.
They
They've
got down
impressed me.
25 at home to Colgate. in a
The
game
Colgate
they
thing
had
was weird.
circled.
Colgate has Syracuse in like a voodoo doll. It's like the Hey Arnold Helga. It's like an exception matchup to me. I think Syracuse has. I like the makings of what they're becoming. So maybe it's a reach, but I think Syracuse is going to have some. Oh wow, Syracuse.
I still
I
like
think
them.
the
I was
Syracuse
less
kiddos
high on
get
them as I was. For
Punked
sure.
by
That's fair.
Tennessee.
I remain confident in my
They play Tennessee.
my orange men.
Yeah.
Battle of the Orange.
Yeah.
I know, kind of tough matchup there.
I'm not betting.
All right.
against- yeah.
We're heading back to Charleston, and
Wait,
as
Matt,
Jim
who's your pick?
mentions,
Who's your pick to win that tournament?
yeah, I was with you. I was going to Marquette, Jim, but Kolek's ankle bothers me. I'm still going Marquette. He played with
Okay.
on one leg, and he was
He had-
slicing
he
and
had
dicing
23
Illinois.
points against Illinois.
He was, yeah, whatever.
It doesn't
He's-
start till
he's-
the 20th, like next Monday. So they've got time. Ice
got
it out.
time. Charleston Classic, Houston is the major favorite here, but we talked Kai waxed poetically about Utah, St. Johnny's, Rick Pitino trying to cleanse the palate after a pretty disgusting defensive effort. I heard they watched game film after the loss against Michigan. It was pretty funny. And then Dayton, which was a really fun admission that the Malachi Smith injury puts a slight damper on that. But then you have LSU. We'll find out about LSU quickly here. North Texas, who is very real in the Grant McCaslin post era. Wake Forest and Towson, who I think is outclassed here. Kai, thoughts on this field? Is it Houston versus Field in your
Yes.
eyes?
It's Houston
Yeah,
versus
I think
Field.
so too.
Roberts is a little banged up. I don't think it matters. Yeah, it's Houston's field for sure.
I think Utah gives them a little game in the semifinals,
Yep.
but Houston, it basically not rolls through, but I think they win by like 9, 12, and 15 or something in their 3 games.
And then Myrtle Beach Invitation. Oh, sorry, I'll make my pick. Trying to dodge here. I think it's Houston. North Texas was kind of my I wanted to be cute pick, but no, they're not going to beat Houston. Myrtle Beach Invitational. It's weird that Charleston's playing in this and not Charleston Classic to me. I don't know why, it just didn't quite sit right with me. But the two favorites are, you have to put them in that mix, but I think the perennial favorites are Furman and Liberty. Liberty is just my jaw was on the floor as to how impressed I was when I watched them play against Charlotte. I think Charlotte was a little bit had something to do with that, but man, Liberty just does not take a single bad shot ever. And we love Furman, but I think Liberty is the better of those two teams. And Jim mentions they play opening round, which sucks because I want to see a title game of those two.
Yeah, I praised Maui's bracketing. Myrtle Beach, not good bracketing.
Kai, your Slubilicans made the cut here. We'll see how they stand up to the likes of these other, basically mid-major powerhouses. Vermont, Wichita, I guess it's not really mid-major anymore. Wyoming, and Coastal Carolina, and Cliff Ellis's 500th year at the helm. What do you say for this tourney?
Whoever wins the Furman Liberty game, I think will win the tournament. Charleston has not impressed me so far.
#facts, Kai. I'm with you. I think Charleston could fight. Again, this is very close to them. It's like 40 minutes from down to Conway. I don't think it's that far. But yeah, Furman Liberty winner wins the tournament. I was so impressed. I thought Furman might be a tad down. And then they blew Belmont out by 25, and Pegues had a monster game. It's okay, they're going to be just fine with no Bothwell and Slauson.
Yeah, these programs, they're just player development gurus. You just kind of have to trust what's coming through the pipeline. So shame on me there. And same with Liberty too. Those guards were just holy crap, awesome.
Yep. Atlanta starts next Wednesday. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, live potentially. Is it usually a daytime? Yeah, daytime starts. We'll get some live podcast banter and predictions as that tips, along with many other great fields. Until that time, please enjoy your weekends.
Reviews, baby. We got reviews.
We have reviews. A lot of them.
Come on, fellas.
Trying to let Kai off the hook.
I told you
Kai, where are the reviews? I can't find them in there. But it doesn't matter. It's your section. So, you should have put them down at the bottom.
Yeah. So,
Kai, reviews, please.
Hey, if you guys want to stick around for reviews, please do. There's some questions in here, some fun stuff. But aside from that, the meat of and potatoes of the show is done. But review time. Let's do it. A bonus from Reddit really quick. A little birdie 117 says he's compiled his on-court scouting report player comps of the Weave, purely based on observance of the show. So here he goes. P.S. He met Rocco Miller, who says we're good guys. That's cool. Rocco Miller's a good guy. He says Matt is Gus Marchulionis from St. Mary's.
That's a great comp. I love this.
He says, I am Aiden Mahaney, but he can't double up on St. Mary, so he's saying Baylor Shireman. I accept Baylor Shireman. Yes. And Jim is Sam Decker. These are good comps.
Jim's is the most apt, I would say, right?
I would say
it's not anymore. My game has changed. Pre-injury, Decker was a great comp. Now I'm a freaking gunner.
I would say Decker, Shireman, and Gus are very close to our actual games, at least at our prime. Yes.
I feel like you're a little more of a 4 than a Shireman, Kai. That's the one I would scale you up to more of a. You love playing in the post. You're a post.
Yeah, you're a tweener. Like you always been a tweener.
Yeah, yes. You're Tyler Wall with maybe a little better shot.
Yes,
man. My guy Gus struggled in that game against Weaver. Gus, come on, man. All right, sorry.
I love Gus. Dale Bear says best hoops pod bar none. First off, glad to see Matt has given up on calling good players supremacists. That's pretty funny.
I know.
He does love him some good coxisms.
Good for me.
All right, so he says, what needs to happen to get the Daily Show back? Do we need to harass Bill Simmons till he hands over the bag? How many subscribers would you need for something behind a paywall? He says, I got to think close to 500 people who throw $20 a month through the season would do it. 10,000 a month for the boys. Would that get it done? This is heartbreaking.
Yes.
I would say yes.
Absolutely get it done.
10,000 a month for the boys would get it done.
Yeah.
So there's your number.
500 people
doing
that? Well, yeah.
Is that a handshake agreement?
Dale, go collect signatures. And if you come back with 500, it happens immediately.
There you go. That's how it's going to work. Petition. We get 500 signatures for $20 a month for paywall, best bet show, detailed breakdowns of teams, 10,000 a month. We'll do it. Otherwise, we'll hope for sponsorship. Okay. Coop0427 says the best. If you're a college hoop fan and gambler, there's no better place to get great analysis. Fantastic. He says we have chemistry. I love it. Now if they can bring the best bet show back, we're really cooking. Nice. Another feather in the cap for the best bet show. Yep. Delhi Fan Club says best college basketball pod for years. says we were grinding it out. Thank you. Appreciate it. As a Gale fan, needs to know when the boys will make it out for Gonzaga St. Mary's game. Ooh, man, I really want to go out there. Gosh, soon. I say that, but I don't know how I can make it out there anytime soon. It'd be awesome. He says, what are the other rivalries the boys have on their wish list to attend? And thanks for the content. I've never seen a Mizzou KU game in Allen Fieldhouse, and I would really like to go see that, Jim. That's kind of top of my list. Of course, UNC Duke as well.
Cincy Xavier tops my list. Those fan bases just hate each other, and I would love to be in a house for one of those. I like their true home games too, home and home.
Matthew,
what do you got, Matt?
Yeah, I think I go Fog. I've never been to Fog.
Yeah, Fog.
Beware.
I was there as a camper. Cool place. But go Mizzou. CJ Easterday says college basketball's back. One of my favorite times of year. Yes, it is. One question as a Duke fan, says CJ. Do you think that the lack of a true rim protector like Mark Williams, Derek Lively, etc., is going to hurt Duke's ability to play against teams with dominant big men? He says he doesn't think so, Matt, because Flip is underrated in his eyes as a defender. Obviously, this was written before Umar Ballo versus Arizona, but Matt, your take.
I agree. Flip is underrated as a defender, but he's not a 5, and he can't fend off Keyshawn Johnson or Ballo by himself. Nor will he be able to fend off.
Even Krivas had a big game.
Yeah, Krivas was great too. Like look at the Arkansas front line. I mean, they're going to wreak havoc. Like if they see Connecticut clinging in those dudes. I mean, KJ Adams and Hunter Dickinson. Like there's some teams that are elite that can get to the O glass. So I think you have to have a matchup counter, unless your small ball lineup is bulletproof. But I think Arizona game proved it's not. So we'll see.
Link's Bag says, love the pod. He says 3MW, one of the biggest reasons that is college basketball fandom has grown. Fantastic. I don't know why I keep saying hilarious. I don't know why I say that. His alma mater is Maryland, so go Terps. Bummer to hear the Best Bet show has not found a home yet. We're hoping, we're trying. Let's see here. Question. How early are you willing to go? How early are you willing to let go of preconceived notions of how a team is supposed to perform from a gambling perspective? Following up on that, much has been said about college basketball's lackluster opening slate over the few days. How much stock do you put into losses from power conference teams against preseason 200-plus ranked opponents, Vanderbilt, DePaul, rather than early preseason scrimmage losses? St. John's comes to mind. Thanks, guys. Jim, your take on preconceived notions of teams versus early performance?
I try to be flexible with it. And again, it's case by case. Try to look at the box score. Like, did they just get lit up from beyond the arc in an aberrational shooting performance, or are you Georgetown and you lost to a Holy Cross team that shot 25% from deep? That's kind of what I'm trying to check out and try to figure out why the result happened, and then I'll adjust from there.
Yeah, my process is: are you Drexel and did you play? Except if you did, I'm going to fade you. It's very simple. It's my entire path to properly this year. Drexel stinks. Fade.
Yeah. I don't adjust too quickly. Don't adjust too big unless you have good reason to do it and your rating was not confident to come into the year. I made the mistake.
Yeah, that is. I like preseason if you have like a confidence level in your rating.
Yeah,
where you're more willing to move off certain ones. I think that's smart.
I made the mistake of watching North Dakota State, so I will not be betting on them the rest of the year because
the team's so bad. That team, if you're a Bison fan, a tough year for Bison sports fans. Like their beloved dynasty in football, sort of. The gravy train right now and hoops. Ooh, he doesn't look good. Like that team did not. That was a 50% cruise control effort there. Yikes.
And finally, Professor Dingus says, "Great job,
great
boys.
name.
Keeping up with all the teams in college basketball is not easy, but he says we do a good job." 2 questions. After watching many teams' first games, if you had to pick one sleeper team to outperform preseason projections, who would it be, and why is it Butler? Also, for a thought experiment. What is the maximum number of losses Chicago State could endure to still earn a tournament bid? Second question first, Chicago State's done. They cannot get a tournament bid, in my opinion. I have not looked at the rest of their schedule, but already taking losses to Bowling Green and to CSUN, you're kind of done.
They go to Wisconsin.
Butler's
trouble for the Badgers?
They can cause spoilers for other teams. Butler's a good answer. They look really good. They haven't played anybody yet, but they handled both their teams easily. So yeah, Butler, nice, man.
Yeah, Butler, Michigan. Trying to think
Michigan.
of who else like falls into that category. That's just way
It's
better.
super
Like
good. Yeah.
genuinely, like I know they're top 10-ish by most, but I think Arizona's going to get a 1 seed. Like I think they're top 5 team for sure. So I guess that's not massively exceeding expectations, but I think they will.
Real quick, Kai Butler last year beat New Orleans by 1 million, St. Francis by 1 million, the Citadel by 1 million.
Okay, good point.
And we thought there was some, and they showed up
Good
to
point.
Paradise, and Tennessee took them behind the woodshed, and
Ooh,
did what
we were
they
all
did.
on Butler that game, like plus
Yeah, I was
9 or
Butler
something.
Yeah.
It was like
big.
26.
Ooh, I was Butler
That's-
big. Lose.
That's
a
actually a
loser
good
for-
point. Certain teams are built to just dominate low mid majors, and they can't compete with teams of their own caliber.
But is this team different?
or struggle? Maybe.
Because it's a different team.
Yeah,
Posh.
they don't have Chuck Harris anymore, so yeah, they could definitely be different.
Chuck it up, Harris. Chuck it
Shots
from the
fired.
cheap seats, Harris. Yeah, shots fired. I agree with that. And they're healthy this year too, so they could be real. I'm actually an on Butler. Sure.
Matt, that's all the reviews, guys. Thank you for writing them. Please keep doing it, asking questions. Matt, I'll send it to you to sign us off. Best
This
Show
is me
Saturday.
signing off. Best Show Saturday. Come join us. Get your spinny hats out.
Subscribe to
and
the
then
YouTube.
make sure you
Yep.
subscribe. Like right now, if you're watching, please do that. Or if you're podcasting, just pull up YouTube and click it's literally like one button. It's actually pretty easy. If you have 2 emails, do it on both.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Kind of game the system a little bit. Make a burner or 2 and stuff the old ballot box. We appreciate that. It will only help us come to you more frequently throughout the calendar year. And that's all we have. Thank you. Until next week. Sorry, this Saturday. Take care.